Nitro number 103, September 1st, 1997.
Great show.
Last week... Okay, go ahead.
For the opener alone.
The opener was tremendous.
Yeah.
In fact, throughout this show, maybe it's because it was 3 hours long, they said we were to make some video packages. The quality of the typical WWF video package compared to the quality of the typical WCW video package, usually a giant gap. The one category where WWF has always crushed them is video packages. This show had 2 or 3 videos that would been as good as a typical, or as good as a good WWF video.
Dude, this Arn Anderson video package that opened up the show. Mm-hmm. Have you seen Raw yet?
I have not.
Okay, they do a video package for Mr. Fuji. Mr. Fuji.
Yeah.
Sure.
This is the nicest video package you've ever seen.
Yeah, I thought he did a lot less.
And it's long as hell.
Yeah.
First off, I was just amazed. Second off, this was very much like that. They were going to destroy Arn Anderson on this show, and they did. But boy, did they make a really nice video package. When it was over, you're like, maybe this guy should be in the Hall of Fame.
And that's where the comparisons to Arn Anderson and Mr. Fuji stop.
Pretty much, yeah.
They were both tag team champions.
This program is dedicated to the enforcer, Arn Anderson.
Yes.
4 horsemen.
They pointed out Horseman came and Horseman left, but the 2 constants were always Ric Flair and his best friend and backup Arn Anderson.
Brian, you love this show so much. Let me ask you a question. When is Fall Brawl?
Fuck if I know. September.
It's 2 weeks away.
Yep.
What have they built for Fall Brawl, the
I have
pay-per-view?
no idea.
Nothing.
Nothing.
0.
War Games.
Who's
Listen,
in War Games, Vinny?
there's a lot of
They were
problems.
hinting at it.
There's
2 weeks!
There's a lot of problems
Didn't write
with
it down.
WCW.
They
But
were
they
mentioning-
still had a good show.
They were talking about how some guys are in and some spots left to fill. I was not writing it all down. But this video package, beyond being just Ric Flair's enforcer for so many years, he was also an all-time great tag team wrestler and the best TV champion, the longest reigning TV champion in the history of the company.
Now, I do have one question for the historians out there because I actually don't know. During one of these video packages, there is a clip of Arn Anderson standing next to his tag team partner, Buddy Landell.
Yeah.
Said Mid-Atlantic on the back of the...
Wow.
There was a point they were doing Arn tributes throughout the show, and one of them was an Arn promo with Buddy Landell at Starrcade 85.
Man.
I guess he's a friend of all Nature Boys everywhere.
You know, I guess he is.
Anyway, this video was tremendously great. And the announcers opened the show. Then they recapped last week's show, which in 19 years, I still have not seen this angle in its entirety, and I really need to go back and do this next week. But the one they showed last week, which I'm sure you and Lance discussed in detail, when the Horsemen all came out, once again asked Kurt Hennig, will you join? Kurt Hennig said, I can't give you an answer. Flair says, I thought you might say that, so I brought down a friend. And out came Arn Anderson.
Did they play the whole thing?
A good chunk of it, at least. I don't know how far it went.
Pretty
but
close.
It sounds like they played the whole thing.
So Arn says, I was a man of average size, average speed, and average ability. And he said that, and I thought, clearly you have never seen yourself work. Still had a very successful career, but then a few months ago, they had taken 4 vertebrae out of his neck. I think that's not medically possible, but I'm sure he had neck surgery.
Maybe they fused them.
That sounds better.
Well, they didn't remove them.
Yeah. He didn't get 6 inches shorter.
Well, sometimes they take your head off, remove vertebrae, and then put it back on.
Did you see there are scientists?
Yeah.
They're actually planning a human head transplant.
Yeah. It's been done with monkeys.
Wow.
Doesn't work.
Oh, well, that hasn't been done.
Well, it's been done.
It's been attempted.
But you can't interview the monkey for the brief period it lives.
I see.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's an after dark right there.
Apparently.
So Arn says he tried to make his comeback despite the pain and the weakness in his left hand. His left hand, he noted, which is always his punching hand. He said it was too fragile and too much pain to continue. The first time somebody slapped him on the back, he dropped his water. As he watched the water pour out of the bottle, he realized that was his time as a wrestler running out. He said, getting back in this ring, it would be suicidal, would also endanger the career of myself and fine men like this other horseman, and I will not settle for being anything less than the enforcer Flair deserved. And Arn's going on. And if you didn't know the story and you weren't really paying attention, this would just be every other great Arn Anderson promo ever. They were all great. but there was nothing in his delivery to indicate that something was unusual. Meanwhile, his best friend Ric Flair is in the background, choking up, desperately trying to keep it together. So Arn says, I want all you fans to remember me not as I am, but as I was. Good news, Arn! Mission accomplished. He turns to Kurt and says, Kurt, you are something special. I know you've been looking for a spot in the Horsemen. I'm not just going to give you a spot in the Horsemen. I'm going to give you my spot. And Kurt just got right to the point. No one in wrestling can turn that honor down. It will be a privilege. And he shook Arn's hand, and that was that. And even in abbreviated form, and a week later, this was still great. Jeff Jarrett and Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit and Steve McMichael.
Oh, my God. This was amazing.
What was amazing was the crowd losing their minds.
They were more into this than the Louisville crowd had been into Shawn and Undertaker.
Mainly
because they were twice as big.
So into Chris Benoit. Mm-hmm. They were so into Mongo.
Mongo... He may as well have been the entire 1985 Bears.
Sure.
May as well have been 50 men in that corner. He got cheered so much.
Now listen, let me tell you what was great about this match. When you hear Benoit and Guerrero are in a match together, you immediately think they must have had a great technical wrestling match.
Yes.
You'd be wrong in this match. These guys had a fight.
They beat the crap out of each other.
They beat the shit out of each other, and what was amazing was these two men who are renowned for their technical ability, when they decided they were going to brawl, they showed everyone else how to brawl.
Oh, yeah.
There ain't one brawler in this entire WCW company, and probably in the whole world after this match, that can brawl like these two guys brawled with each other. Who's better? Who brawls better than those guys?
No one.
I can't think of anybody. They didn't do any wrestling.
Hardly any at all.
They just got in a fight.
And Jarrett tagged in, and Benoit was slightly less intense, because Benoit and Eddie were, of course, best friends, so they had no problem beating the holy living hell out of each other. Whereas Benoit and Jarrett were colleagues, so Benoit toned down the violence just a skosh, but kept up the intensity. It was still great. They kept Mongo on the apron for like 5 or 6 minutes. He hits one clothesline from the apron, everyone goes crazy.
They went crazy.
So they built up to the hot tag. Finally, Eddie goes up top. Mongo grabs him, which lets Benoit hit a superplex. And that sets up the hot tag to Mongo. And the football star ran wild as a football star should, with forearm shivers, and he grabbed the small men and slammed them around.
Well, let's talk a little bit about
then things went south.
his comeback. At one point, he just can't decide what to do. And he's in there with Jarrett. And they stood there for so long that the announcers start bringing up, I don't think he knows what he wants to do now.
No!
And Mongo can't decide, and eventually he grabs the guy.
And you know, Jarrett the whole time was like, slam me.
Yeah,
slam
he
me.
gives him a
slam
side
me.
slam. Hey.
He gives him a side slam, and he's holding him up there forever, almost as long as Tim Hughes did in ROH. Meanwhile, Eddie and Benoit are doing spots behind him.
It was funny.
Yes.
He tried. This man never gave up.
No.
I got to mention also, before the hot tag, Eddie goes up top, presumably for the frog splash, and Mongo grabs his leg, and Benoit leaps to his feet, and he runs up the ropes like he's running stairs, and he grabs the guy for a superplex from the middle rope, but then climbs all the way to the top rope, leaps high into the air for this superplex. Eddie bumps perfectly. Benoit bumps upside down on his head and flips all the way over and grabs the back of his neck.
Yeah.
This man had... He did not have a 1 through 9. He was always at 10.
Oh, yeah.
Can you do anything slow, dude? The answer is no.
No.
But he didn't hurt his opponent.
No.
He only hurt himself.
Yeah.
It's funny how quickly Benoit moves, and then you compare that to the way Dolph Ziggler moves. Also very quickly and completely different.
It is completely different.
Benoit was always in control.
He moves very quickly from one controlled moment to another, whereas Ziggler just moves quickly from one uncontrolled moment to another.
Benoit is a great Formula One racing driver, always skirting the edge of the course but never going off. Dolph, it just goes in a straight line and that road curves, and Dolph goes flying off.
Yep.
So
Dolph is he's a winner.
No.
On the racetrack.
No.
You cut the corners.
There's two... What was the term I brought up on the way
Listen,
here?
in my driving, if you go straight through the corners, you're more successful than the guy who hugs the curves.
Brian doesn't like curves, though.
Please,
How dare you?
please start a racing league.
How dare I will. Gonna have walls everywhere.
So anyway. So Jarrett puts Mongo in the figure 4. Eddie goes up top. Dean Malenko runs down. He shoves Eddie off. He splashes Jarrett, and Mongo escapes the figure 4 and gets the win. And everyone's happy.
Dude, you know what match is
Jarrett
great?
and Deborah and Eddie.
You know what match is great? When it's the first match on the show, and Tony Schiavone has already lost his voice.
So they did a bunch of these throughout the show, little 10-second promos, guys all in the locker room wishing Arn well, saying how much they respected him, wishing a happy retirement. Starts with Lex Luger. It's just what I just said. Lex, Arn, we've been the best of friends, the worst of enemies, but I always respected you, and good luck in your retirement. And the whole time, he's flexing his pecs back and forth. Left pec, right pec, left pec, right pec. He can't help himself.
That's his gimmick.
It's him. It's not his gimmick. Randy Savage and Scott Hall came out and took over the announce desk. So the announcers are sticking around at first. And Scott Hall takes credit for all the people in attendance and everyone watching at home. So people like these fans and people like Larry Zbyszko, they hate their jobs, they got nothing going on, but you can live vicariously through us. All of you want to tell your boss to stick it, but you can't. But we can, so you enjoy us. And he turns to Larry. And I know it was live, but I still can't believe this made TV. Larry passes Hall a handkerchief and says, quote, "You must have been hanging out with Hogan. You've got something on your nose." Yeah. Hall was mortified and wiped his nose. So, they leave. Randy Savage begins to pontificate on the nature of Labor Day.
I think he was saying that he was a brown noser, not that they were doing coke.
Either way.
Oh.
One's much worse than the other.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe they were doing both.
The fact that Hall played along with it made me think, uh-oh.
Well, it's very likely that Larry meant you're a brown noser.
Yeah.
And Hall meant, fuck.
Oh shit, there's coke in my nose. Okay. So I was not wrong. You're both right. I took it as a cocaine reference. A blatant, unapologetic cocaine reference here on live TV.
Maybe he was doing the coke off of Hogan's ass.
Now, why did you have to even put that image in my head?
Funny you should mention that. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Do we have to?
Well, not on Hogan's ass, but I got something I got to say later. But we'll get to it. I don't like to jump ahead in these reviews.
Okay. So they leave. Savage talks about Labor Day. They run down Luger and DDP, and that's it. Silver King versus Mortis. I was expecting a total train wreck, but for the most part, they were totally fine together.
Dude, that's because Silver King is great.
That's true.
And a new generation of youngsters is going to come up because of these shows and understand the greatness of the Silver King.
That's right. So, Mortis won with the downward spiral and the avalanche Samoan drop. It was short, but it was totally fine.
Talk about the best part. James Vandenberg calls out Meng and Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
That was
He's
dumb.
barely got their names out, and they're there.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you want to fight? Fine.
Cool.
They were waiting to be called out.
We weren't booked. We were hoping to get in a fight.
Not like some of these pussies, you call them out, and it takes them 10 minutes to get their ass to the ring.
It's like they teleport.
Doing their hair, putting on baby oil.
Getting the music ready.
Dude, these guys just ran out. They
And
don't need
whipped
no
ass.
music.
And
Yeah,
then clear the ring.
that's right. Real men.
The Nitro girls came out and danced. We had another Arn Anderson tribute moment, and I just loved this. Usually when athletes retire, and they're showing highlight reels, it's either great plays they made, or celebrations of championships, or maybe some charity work they did that shows what a great person they were off the field, too. Arn Anderson retires, they show him backstabbing and betraying people. He turned on Dustin Rhodes and had a classic Horseman beatdown.
That's who he is.
It was awesome.
That's right.
They recapped J.J. Dillon calling into Nitro last week and vowing to book a match between Sting and Hulk Hogan by the end of the year. Eric Bischoff freaked out, vowed it would never happen. Sting came out, he put a Hulk Hogan shirt on Eric's head, sort of pushed him to the ground with his boot, and then he took the shirt back and looked around, and for the first time in a year, Sting smiled.
Man.
The Sting storyline is so great. It's so great.
It's the only storyline that got pushed forward in this 3-hour episode of Nitro.
And this was a recap.
I pushed forward the ball bearing and Meng against Mortis and Wrath. That got pushed forward.
Sure, Brian.
It did.
Okay.
There was a brawl, and they're going to have a match.
Didn't they have a brawl last week as well?
Well, yeah, but we're moving towards Fall Brawl.
I see.
Now you know what's on the show.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They didn't mention it.
Well, it's obvious.
Okay.
What, you need him to hold your hand?
It's obvious.
Talk about Yuji Nagata and Dean Malenko.
That's a great idea.
Talk about Shooter Larry.
The fucking wrestling these men were doing. And Larry, who noted that he liked to wrestle amateurs because he'd let them take him down. Let them.
Yeah.
He'd let them take him down because they were thinking 2 points, then he'd break their arm.
That's a bad strategy.
Oh, he'd break their arm, yes.
Tragedy?
Strategy.
The point is...
Strategery? What do you want me to say?
Strategy.
Strategy.
Yeah, not strategy, like a tragedy. Strategy.
Must you nitpick everything in my life?
Go
Mom?
ahead, Vinny. Dad.
My father's passed away, Brian.
I
Thank
apologize.
The point is, Yuji Nagata and Dean Malenko were doing this fat-ass awesome pro wrestling on the mat here. And you watch this and you think, no wonder PWI ranked Dean number 1. Dean was the best.
You just figured this out?
Well,
I've been
no.
talking about this for years.
So Yuji is this huge exploder when Deborah and Jarrett came out. Deborah takes the ref. Jarrett snaps Dean's neck in the ropes. Yuji made the cover. Jarrett held down Dean's leg and the ref counted 3. And Yuji pops up absolutely, completely bewildered, no idea what is going on, and I bet that in real life, he was completely bewildered and had no idea what was going on.
I just thought this man needs to build up his confidence.
I love it. He looked at the ref and was pointing at himself like, me? I won?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to mention one thing going back to that Shawn Michaels match. I don't like to harp on things, but when The Undertaker hit Shawn Michaels with the brass knucks, there's no ref. Undertaker covers the man, and Earl Hebner comes over and he does this dramatic count, which, by the way, is not even a normal cadence because it's Earl and he's knocked unconscious, so he goes 1, 2. Shawn kicks out at the very last second, never looked at the referee.
That is your pet peeve.
Because he was great.
So Yuji wins. DDP does a promo talking about respecting Arn for giving it his all in the ring. The Nitro girls danced. For the record, Spice was the hottest one.
Kimberly.
I thought you'd say Whisper.
She's not there yet.
Oh.
She's coming.
When I say she's the hottest one, that is high praise. They're all hot.
Oh, yeah.
La Parka versus Ultimo Dragon. So at some point, either on the show I missed or on Saturday night or the Clash maybe, Dragon had turned his back on Sonny Ono. He was now a full-fledged Technico. And Sonny Ono is bringing a legion of Japanese and luchadors to fight his battles for him.
It's been going on a month.
Has it?
Yeah, because he was managing Psychosis at one point.
So Dragon runs wild forever until he goes after Ono on the floor and Parker wipes him out. And in most matches at this point in the match, things would slow down. Not this one. These dudes kept on going. Non-stop action here. Finally, Parker tried to use a chair. Dragon kicked it in his face instead for the pin. So Ono hits the ring afterwards. Dragon invites him to attack. Sonny obliges. Dragon whips his ass and puts him in the Dragon Sleeper. And then Parker grabs a chair to chase him away.
You know what was interesting during this match? This is La Parka against the Ultimo Dragon. Fans are going crazy, and they're chanting Ultimo Dragon's name. Mm-hmm. The Ultimo Dragon.
Yeah.
That's when it struck me that this Nitro was like a snowball rolling down the hill. This whole WCW Nitro phenomenon. It started to get hot, and then the fans showed up, and they were totally into everything. And then as a viewer, when you watch television, the fans were so into everything that it made you interested in it. And it was just, all this momentum was building. And it kept building, by the way. What year are we, 97?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Kept building for another year before it really started to fall off the cliff. But while the momentum is building and the fans just love everything about it, there's so much dumb shit already happening.
It's like the reverse of what's going on Raw right now. You could have an amazing match in the ring, and then the fans are sitting on their hands, and it doesn't transfer to you at home, and so you're actually bored with something that's pretty good on television.
Uh-huh. Arn gets a promo, or in the past, this is where they showed his promo with Buddy Landell at Starrcade 85. Buff Bagwell versus Glacier.
Bagwell was so good.
I love this match.
He got a good match out of this numbskull. Glacier. Can you imagine?
Buff Bagwell was taunting him by doing karate poses, and he did this for about 2.5 minutes.
Yes.
And then he got karate kicked in the face.
He turned around and took a karate kick in the face. This is
awesome.
This is not complicated.
Can we talk about the greatest spot I've ever seen?
Please.
Glacier makes a comeback. He's so bad. He mistimes a high cross off the ropes, and he almost breaks Bagwell's leg.
But...
And Bagwell's got great instincts, and so he sells his leg, then forgets because that's not part of the match. So Glacier goes to give him a superplex.
Mm-hmm.
So Bagwell's sitting on the top rope, and Glacier is going to suplex him into the ring.
Correct.
However, Vincent is out there with Bagwell, and so Vincent grabs the back of Bagwell's shirt, trunks, whatever, and Glacier has got to be the first man in history to superplex himself.
That's right.
That's probably true.
He powered nobody up and kept going and fucking fell 2 stories into the ring.
Yeah.
I'm sure on paper it was like, hey, this is a great finish. This looked so fucking stupid.
Well, these
He looked like such an idiot. Am I wrong? He superplexed himself.
He tried to use all his might to get Bagwell over, and then all of a sudden, he didn't need that much power.
I've never seen anything so dumb as this spot right here.
It was dumb, yes.
In a match I liked.
So that happened, and then Bagwell hit a blockbuster and won.
Yeah.
I actually liked the spot early on where Glacier, of course, is doing kung fu. And so he tries a high round kick, and Bagwell ducks. In one motion, Glacier turns the high round kick into a leg sweep, but Bagwell jumps. And then Glacier spins around to his feet, and Bagwell slaps him in the face. And Bagwell turns to the camera. He does a kata, ends it with a big slap, and he laughs, and he turns around, and that's when he got a karate kick in the face.
Dude, this match was good.
Yes.
How could you not like this match?
So it's time for Larry Zbyszko to pay tribute to Arn Anderson.
Okay, did he say what I think he said?
Tony,
Probably, but why don't you tell me what you think first?
Larry Zbyszko is a tool.
Larry Zbyszko comes out and says, he has 10 seconds. And all he can muster up is, Arn, you almost had a legendary career. What?
He's a tool.
So what he said was,
You son of a bitch.
the end of your career has come too soon. You were almost legendary, but now it's over, and you're history.
Wow.
That was his tribute. Now, I believe...
Arn is a babyface right now.
Yes. I think what he was trying to say was that, Arn, though you are a great part of wrestling history, you do not reach my own status, which is legendary.
Of course that's what he meant.
It came off even worse than that. It came off as, not only are you worse than me, you're gone. You're trash, buddy.
This was amazing.
He's such a jerk off.
This was amazing.
Had a Roddy Piper video package.
Totally random.
I didn't get anything out of this. Literally, I wrote Roddy Piper video package, and I moved on. Viano 4 versus Lismark.
I pointed to the screen. I said, Brian wrestled him. And he goes,
I did.
Alvarez? I said, yeah.
Yeah. So, first of all, a quick note. They mentioned Rey Mysterio Jr. visiting James Andrews, learning he would not need surgery, but would be returning to work in a knee brace. And Zbyszko counseled all wrestlers, let your injuries heal, don't return too early.
Hey, for once he was right.
So, the story of this match was Mike Tenay explaining to everyone that Viano's 4 and 5 were out here, and often they will switch places in the match, and fans and the referees won't be able to notice. As he's explaining the story, it is happening before their very eyes. Like 3 or 4 times they switch places, and the announcers never notice. Because I thought it happened once, and I went back to check, and it did. Didn't happen any second time, and then a third. And finally, Tenay's like, wait, was there a switch? Yes, it says 5 on that man's trunks. Well, this is supposed to be Viano 4.
You know what's so funny about that was, I was sitting there thinking, this is why I love wrestling. Because if this were real, and you had 2 guys who were going to do twin magic, both guys should have the same number on their fucking trunks.
Yes.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Sure.
I'm thinking, if you have one guy's got a 5 and one guy's got a 4, you ain't going to fool anybody.
Well,
And as I'm writing that, they fooled the goddamn announcers 3 times.
Yes.
So much for my theory.
Well, the problem is you're smart, they're dumb.
May as well have worn different colors.
the Bella twins switched, and one's a A and the other one's a D double D.
Many, many years ago, on like All American Wrestling, there was an 8-man tag with the Killer Bees.
I knew you were going to tell this story.
Have I told the story before?
Yeah, but tell it again.
Tell it again.
It's worth it.
It's the Killer Bees and like George Steele B and JYD B. And it's all these guys, they all have the same matching B masks on. And very early on, the babyfaces tried to do a B switch with B Brian Blair leaving the ring and JYD B taking his place. Mm-hmm. And the ref turns around and he stops and he just says, "No. You out, you in."
I remember going to the Tacoma Dome and seeing a house show with the machines on it. And the giant machine switched places with the super machine
That is awesome.
at one point.
Super Machine was Bill Eadie, right?
I think so.
Well, it was Bill Eadie. The reason I ask is Bill Eadie, Blackjack Mulligan, and Andre.
Okay.
Andre and Blackjack is almost acceptable.
Right.
Andre and Bill Eadie is not.
There was only 2 at this time.
Okay.
They added, I think they even added a Hulk machine at the end.
There was a Hulk machine. There was all sorts of machines out there. So anyway, Lizmark won with a moonsault. The Vianos continued their assault. Lizmark missed a dropkick. Tony said he missed that dropkick, and the Vianos left. And here I wrote, Jesus, what an awful segment.
All right, I'll admit that wasn't very good.
Okay.
Gene brought out Lex Luger for a promo.
Keep in mind, this month, this man beat Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
For the World Championship.
Like 3 weeks ago?
He's already a fella.
He's a mid-card guy. It's sad. It really is sad. So Gene explains, this is also missing, if you don't watch every show, Gene says, Lex Luger, in recent times, you have put Diamond Dallas Page in the torture rack, and Page has laid you out with a diamond cutter. Now you two must coexist. Luger says, it's true, we have both attacked each other in an accident, but now we are even. I want Page to come out now so he can bury the hatchet. Page did not show, so Lex just shrugged and said, I guess I'll get my answer in the ring. They showed Arn Anderson turning on Bobby Eaton in 1993, openly, blatantly, unapologetically lifting John Wayne's "I'm not going to hit ya. Hell, I'm not" line. But again, backstabbing and betrayal. This is what we're honoring. The Nitro Girls danced. The cats?
Must we?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The Nitro Girls danced, but Disco Inferno came out to dance in front of them. I legit forgot this guy was still around.
Mm-hmm.
So the girls leave. He's dancing by himself and perfectly happy. But then Alex Wright music plays. Now Disco is sad. Alex Wright steps out, and it's time for a dance-off. And they tried dancing. Well, they both danced. Neither could outdance the other. A shoving match broke out. They had a tense stare down into each other's eyes. I seriously thought that they might actually end up kissing when this was all said and done. Instead, Disco just left. Disco turns and leaves, and Alex turns to the fans and thrusts both fists in the air and says, "Yes!
Yes, he won.
You won!" That I enjoyed. It led to Alex Wright versus Hugh Morris.
I got to talk about something in this match that I thought about. Alex Wright versus Hugh Morris here on this show. There is so little writing on Nitro as compared to Raw nowadays. There was no reason to have this damn match.
No.
There was no story earlier in the show. There was no interview segment.
Yeah.
The reason that we had this match was that Nitro is a show for wrestling fans, and thus the promotion is providing a series of wrestling matches for your entertainment.
Yes.
They interview the main event competitors. There's some storylines here and there, like Mortis and Wrath against the Ball Bearing and Meng. And there was a storyline at the end of this match. But not everything had to have a story or a reason. Half of these matches were just matches designed to entertain people who like matches. Nothing more, nothing less. What the hell's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Don't overwrite your shows.
Now, what we had in this match was Alex Wright working over Hugh Morris's leg. Which means we got the 30-pound German working over the 300-pound man as the babyface in peril. And I'm watching this, and I've talked about this before. Alex Wright had the weirdest knee drops I ever saw, where he would jump off the top rope, land on his feet next to the guy's head, and then do a somersault. And they would say, that's a knee drop. And he did one or two of these, and I thought, it's not just the weirdest knee drop I ever saw, that's the worst. Like, there's no way to make that look good. It's not like, if you hit this, sometimes it'll look bad, sometimes it'll look good. Every time you do a knee drop this way, it will suck. Hugh made his comeback. Disco appeared. Whacked Hugh right in the head in front of the ref. Ref didn't care. Hugh clobbered Disco, threw him out of the ring. Alex hit his spin kick, got the win with the feet on the ropes. And I wrote, what a mess.
Do you remember when Tony Schiavone got mad at me, blocked me on Twitter?
Mm-hmm.
And I explained in a tweet that I thought he was great when he was great. And I only thought he sucked when he sucked.
That's fair.
And this was enough for Tony Schiavone to unblock me. Now, this may have been the show where the tide started to turn because Tony was getting so frustrated during the show.
Oh, yeah.
When this match ended, he could not believe the match had not been thrown out when a dude blatantly interfered. Because Tony's old school, and it would only make sense that if a man enters the ring, it should be a DQ.
He attacked the guy.
Right.
Yeah.
He hit him with a punch.
The key was when he punched the guy, it was behind the ref's back.
No, it wasn't.
Well, it was supposed to be.
Well, it wasn't,
So
though.
the ref looked at the guy. Point is, this was a mess, and Tony was getting pissed.
Yes.
And it only got worse as the show went on.
So they had, I may have forgotten to mention this, during that Lismark versus both Vianos match, they showed Raven walking through the crowd and taking a seat in the front row. Mm-hmm. And here they showed him in the front row, and it's Raven, and he's Raven. He's pissed off, he's miserable, he hates life. And sitting next to him, the nicest grandmother you ever saw. Just out for a nice night of action with her kids.
Allison, you know how nice she was.
She looked nice.
And maybe she had a dart gun in her umbrella. One of those stunt grannies. You'd never know.
She's the penguin?
A stunt granny?
Could be. Don't you remember that goofy show they had in the 90s? Pro Wrestling's Greatest Secrets Revealed? And there was
Sure.
this bullshit about stunt grannies at shows?
There was stunt granny would like take a shove from the heel and then wink at him and let him know she was okay.
Yeah.
Bobby Heenan was given 10 seconds to pay tribute to Arn Anderson. Pointed out how stupid it was he was only given 10 seconds to pay tribute to Arn Anderson.
Yeah, but you know what? It was a very, very nice little promo that he gave in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Better than Larry's.
He's the best.
He really was the best.
Nitro girls joined the announcers to plug the Nitro Party contest.
I loved it because they said, we'll give you Nitro hats, Nitro balloons, which I thought you could only get at a Fish concert. Anyway.
Craig's going to look at me until I laughed.
Thank you.
We had a Sting video package. And this is the one that really made me think, this is good stuff. Because they summarized this whole Sting storyline in like a minute. They made it simple, but they also made it epic. And they were... I should have written down the dialogue word for word. It was talking about how it is now a battle of good versus evil. A dark warrior fights for us with a voice of silence. He's turning back to the light. Very dramatic, very melodramatic. And it is the all done with the children's voice. It's the same voiceover they used when he finally made his entrance to Starrcade.
It was Linus from the Peanuts.
That's not impossible. It was great. Stevie Richards versus Damien.
This was not great.
I will admit, this was not great.
So Stevie Richards comes out. Then Damien comes out. He is high-fiving fans because Damien, whose full name, by the way, Damien 666,
Yes.
friend of people everywhere. He's high-fiving all the fans until he gets to Raven.
Well, he's trying to get them.
Oh, he wasn't high-fiving, he was grabbing them, reaching
Well,
for their souls.
If you're gonna, you gotta pretend you're a good guy.
I see.
That's how you attract the masses.
Yeah.
So he's doing all these high fives. He gets to where Raven is sitting, and he looks at Raven awkwardly, and there's a long, long, long pause, and then Damien goes to move on, but Raven jumps the rail and DDTs him and throws him in the ring. So the ref doesn't know what's going on. Stevie doesn't know what's going on. Raven's at ringside now. Stevie attempts to save Damien's life via CPR and mouth-to-mouth. Raven jumps in the apron. Stevie goes to talk to him. Raven slaps him and says, "Pin him, you idiot." And so Stevie pinned him.
Craig would be able to talk about this. Damien 666.
Right.
High-fiving the fans.
Sure.
The Antichrist,
Sure.
at the beginning,
Yes.
comes off as a great guy.
For the first 7 years, yes.
See? There you go, Vinny.
Well, he's got
I know
60
my
years and 367 days to
Bible.
go then.
Yeah. Well, he's been around longer than 7 years, so
That's
he should
true.
be healed
Actually,
by
I think
now.
it's the first 3.5 years, but
Anyway,
yeah.
how can you think that this show was bad with this Ray trailer promo right here?
The Nitro girls danced. Lee Marshall did the road report, and then we got Ray.
This had to have been the best promo of his whole career.
I'm trying to think of other great Ray trailer promos. When he called Big Show's daddy a dead bastard.
I'd have to watch that one again.
Yeah. So it's Bubba. His head's buzzed, but it's Big Bubba. He says, I've had a lot of names in my career. I've had a lot of costumes. I've had a lot of uniforms. But in real life, I've always been Ray Trailer. And months ago, I was attacked in the parking lot. I was laid out. And my so-called friends in the NWO, they left me high and dry. No phone calls. No faxes. No one wrote me a card. The only thing I got was a termination notice from Eric Bischoff via FedEx. So he had to go through rehab. And I did not realize how extensive Bubba's injuries had been in this parking lot attack.
Dude, they told him he'd never walk again.
Had to learn how to crawl, he said.
Yeah.
I learned how to crawl, how to walk. The whole way he got through it was hanging a picture of Bischoff on the wall, so motivating him to take one more step each day. And now he was back. He's 100%. And he's going to tear Bischoff's head off. It was a great promo. I was thinking, if you had to relearn to walk 6 months ago, maybe you should not be wrestling now.
Well, he's a fast learner.
I have heard that we fighters are quicker healers than most humans. What was
We fighters heal faster than normal men.
something like that? Yeah.
Do you know that my baby has been scooting along? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, she's not really crawling because she's not on all fours. So I Googled it, and are you aware that crawling is actually when you're on your belly and you're doing like alligator scoots? But when you're on all fours, that's considered creeping. Another biblical reference. All the animals that creep.
I don't know.
Creep,
Vinny, move on.
I thought Creep was a Radiohead song.
It really is.
Yeah.
Just wanted to learn everybody something.
Again, everyone, you really had to see Brian's eyes when he said the word creep there.
He was kind of creepy.
He was extremely creepy.
Come on.
And
I was, but
there's two of us and one of him. I'm still weirded out.
all right, big Ray trailer, Prince Ikea.
So Ray did a squash match like he was, we've been watching him in 1986.
He
when
was
broke
way
in.
better than Big Bubba.
Oh, is Ray Trailer here?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But my point is, we've been watching him break in doing like 5-minute squashes on Saturday night. And now it's Monday Nitro. This is a 5-minute squash match that would have been just fine at 2 minutes.
Yep.
Prince made a brief comeback. Trailer hit the Bubba Slam, and he won.
I can't do the math off the top of my head because I'm an idiot, but I was watching this match here, and I'm thinking few men have improved as dramatically during their televised tenure as Ray Trailer.
Sure.
Because he was horrible.
Yeah.
And he ended up really good. I'm watching the match, and I'm like, God, he looks like a little baby. He was like in his early to mid-30s at this point. Mm-hmm. And we'd been watching him on television for well over a decade at that point. Mm-hmm. He started young.
Oh, yeah. He was
like early 20s.
He was about 30 when he had his big run with Hogan.
Yeah. Younger. I think he was like 26.
I was thinking about that, too, because the announcers are going talking about what a dangerous man this is. He clearly hates the NWO. We need a guy like this to fight for us. You think one of them would have said, this man gave Hulk Hogan his toughest contest in a steel cage on national television once. They never brought that up.
Had bigger fish to fry.
That was a heck of a match, though.
It was a great match. JJ paid tribute to Arn in like 4 seconds. Okerlund brings the Four Horsemen out for a promo.
Here we go.
The Horseman music plays. Out comes Conan dressed as Mongo. And he actually looked a lot like Mongo.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
It was shocking.
This is the best one.
And Six dressed as Ric Flair. I did like Six's sweater vest.
It's a nice touch, yes.
But yes, it was a blonde wig, a large fake nose, and a sweater vest and khakis.
He also had some kind of gimmick where he had a bottle of water around...
We'll get to it.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Jump the gun. So as soon as they come out, Gene says, I'm having no part of this. You may not respect the Horseman, but I do. If you have something to say it to yourself. And he gives him the mic and he leaves. So they're fine with that. Six Flair calls out Kurt Hennig. It's Buff Bagwell as Hennig, which his costume consisted of a baseball cap with a blonde curly ponytail.
And a pink polo shirt.
And a polo shirt. And a towel and gum.
I believe that may have been the shirt that Buff Bagwell wore to the building.
It's entirely possible.
Very possible, yes.
Yeah.
So he comes out, and Shivani is begging them to just go to break. So go to the ring, and they actually did a very accurate parody of this Horseman Kurt Hennig angle. Six says, Kurt, it's been 2 months that we've been asking for an answer. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I need to know if you're in or out. And Buff Hennig replied that he'd been put on the spot, and there's a dog named Spot, and he was on the spot over and over and over again. He still couldn't give him an answer. And so Flair says, I thought you might say that. I'm bringing out my best friend. And out comes Kevin Nash dressed as Arn Anderson. I don't know where they got the idea that Arn was fat. I've seen a lot of fat wrestlers in my life. They thought Arn was fat.
Well, he was thick.
He was thick.
And he certainly didn't have a six-pack. But the whole idea here was to humiliate him.
Yeah, but there's... Like, he also had the bald wig. Okay, Arn had been going bald for 10 years. That I get. He had the glasses. He had the neck braces. Of course, they're making fun of him for being hurt. That I get. I never thought of Arn as a fat guy.
Well, listen. I'll let you recap this, but I want to say something about this here. I'll get the good out of the way first. Kevin Nash did a better promo playing Arn Anderson than he ever did playing Kevin Nash.
That's true.
Which was mostly because he was ripping off Arn. So maybe Arn should do the promos for the guys in WWE today. Now,
yes.
When I watched this thing here, this was very controversial because what was supposed to happen, as everybody is aware, is that they were going to do this spoof, and then at the end of it, the Horsemen were going to run out, they were going to beat the hell out of these guys, everybody was going to cheer and be happy, the Horsemen would leave with their head held high on a show dedicated to Arn Anderson. Right before the show started, Bischoff goes up and he tells the Horsemen, you ain't doing the run-in tonight. And the rumor is Nash put the ixnay on it. Mm-hmm. So they're mad, but they're not furious. Later in the evening, Arn calls his wife. She's practically in tears. Ends up with Arn wanting to quit. Flair's ready to quit. Everybody's pissed off. Everybody's furious. Now, when I watched this, knowing all that, I haven't seen this since it aired. I think the thing about this was that everybody's impersonation was kind of funny and lighthearted, except Kevin Nash, who was totally mean-spirited. Flair had a big nose, and he goes, woo!
Yes.
What's wrong with that? Bagwell spit his gum out and hit it, flipped his towel behind his back. Conan just stood there.
He had a football.
It's all just a harmless spoof. And then Nash comes out, and he's fat, and he does nothing but commentary about how he's drunk.
He actually brought a cooler to the ring with him as well.
That's right. And the key here is everybody else was just spoofing the person's televised wrestling character. But Nash was spoofing something that had never been mentioned on television before.
Yes.
And was a real-life issue with Arn. He had a drinking problem. And Nash is out here making fun of him and spoofing him and just being a total asshole. That's what I got out of this thing right here. I think that's why some people thought it was really funny and they didn't understand what was so bad about it, and other people were so furious. Because 3 out of the 4 people here weren't doing anything wrong. They were just out there being wacky. And one guy had to come out and just be a total dick.
And the drinking thing, the key is, like you say, drinking was never a huge part of Arn Anderson's character.
Never.
Only in the sense of we're all going out partying later with the Horsemen.
Yeah,
like they do.
His character wasn't an alcoholic.
He wasn't Steve Austin. He wasn't the Sandman. He wasn't James Storm drinking a beer all the time. So that was a backstage rib at Marty Lundy, not a shot at Arn Anderson to build heat for our wrestling program. The neck brace I was fine with. The bald thing I was fine with. The glasses I was fine with. The gut confused me. So Nash's promo as Arn was funny, but also went on way too long. He said he had average size, average speed, average looks, average intelligence, average carpentry skills.
Hate to admit I laughed at that one.
That was funny. But he put together an excellent wrestling career. Now here is where Six, as Ric Flair, had some gimmick on his hand, where when he held his hand up over his eyes, water would just shoot out.
Yeah, so he
was weeping.
more than likely had like a water bottle or something and a tube running up his shirt and then through his sleeve and to his hand.
Yeah.
Because you could see him physically squeezing something by his waist.
Uh-huh.
And if you saw, the shirt tail coming out of the sweater vest was completely soaked by the end of this thing.
I did see that.
I wish I had the interview where he called Papa Shanko, asked him how to pull this off.
So he goes on the whole story about the neck injury and losing feeling in his hand. It's the hand he opens beer with, he says. Then he went to the bar and a fat broad had smacked him in the back. One of these same fat broads who'd been following the Horseman for 20 years. He said, when Arn Anderson was in the card, he gave 100% no matter how drunk or how hungover he was, and the 8 people in the crowd got a hell of a show. I did laugh at the 8 people in the crowd. That was funny too. And he reversed Arn's line, don't remember me how I was, remember me how I am. And he turned to Buff Hennig, and he said, I'm going to offer you a spot, not a liver spot, not your dog spot, but my spot. And he repeated that same order of lines 3 times, totally driving into the ground.
I think he figured at one of them the fans would laugh, but they just stood there looking at him like, can we end this already?
Yeah. And finally, Buff Hennig accepted the honor, and they all posed with horse's ass t-shirts. And Shivani was letting us know that security was backstage doing all they could to hold the Horseman back. And I wasn't really watching the little slider on the bottom of the screen, but I figured this had to be the end of the show.
No.
No.
You know, I came out of this with so little respect for Kevin Nash. Like, can you imagine if the Horsemen did a spoof on the NWO and they found something in Nash's personal life and they just exposed it on national television, and then Nash didn't get any opportunity to have a rebuttal or do a run-in? Can you imagine the fit that guy would have thrown? But he was out here just having the time of his life, being a dick.
He was a bully. There's no other way to put it. They're still doing Arn tributes after this, by the way. And one of them was a random Arn Anderson promo from 1996. I have no idea what this was, what was setting up. It was just Arn speaking for 15 seconds. We were supposed to get Chavo Guerrero Jr. versus Chris Jericho. First of all, Jericho comes out, and suddenly they have edited in his WWE theme music.
Right.
Break the Walls Down.
I couldn't figure out what was going
For
on.
Lionheart Chris Jericho in 1997.
It was very weird.
We'll see if this keeps up next week. If it's back next week, I have a theory. If this is a one-time thing, then I don't know. Sometime in his WCW tenure, he changed from his very awesome theme music, which I've been such a huge fan of, to his Pearl Jam knockoff music.
Oh, yeah.
Which is actually still pretty cool. I just like this other one better. But perhaps Pearl Jam threatened to sue them.
I doubt that.
I do
But
too.
you can't do that for a knockoff.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I could figure was, remember when he was feuding, this is just totally out of my ass, I'm just thinking about it right now. Remember when he was feuding with Lenny Lane
Yes.
over the Loverboy tape?
Yes.
Didn't he have a knockoff of I Want You to Want Me?
I don't remember.
That's Cheap Trick, by the way.
Whatever it was. But do you remember when he had that knockoff?
Sure.
Am I imagining things?
I don't remember.
Maybe he came out to that song here.
Possible.
Because you certainly cannot use that one
Maybe it's
on the WWE Network.
maybe the new song that he used was just written by somebody who didn't give him permission to use it.
Well, anyway,
It was weird.
he broke the walls
It
down
was very weird.
years before
Yes.
Y2K.
So Eddie comes out, says, Chavo, you're disgracing the family. It's time to let Uncle Eddie take care of business. Scotty Riggs wanders out. Here's Prince Iaukea. Here's Damien. Billy Kidman.
Let's talk about Super Astro.
Cyclope, and then a man called Super Astro.
He had to be a mini. I mean, there's no way he was more than 5 feet tall.
He was just as thick as he was.
He
tall.
was 5 feet wide.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the shortest, fattest cruiserweight you ever saw.
This was his debut.
Oh, what a debut.
What a debut it was.
I don't remember him at all.
Wasn't Super Astros the name of WWF's Lucha Show?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Buddy Wayne wrestled on there.
Maybe
one
he was
time.
supposed to be on there and got lost. So, the Villanos, Silver King, Super Calo, a brawl breaks out. There's dives everywhere, Ultimo Dragon. The announcers don't even know who was hitting the dives, let alone what else is going on. Alex Wright's out there for some reason. Super Astro, first he does he does a high spot in the middle of the ring where he does like a jumping reverse headbutt to a guy. And then he goes to hit a dive, and he goes flying up and flying out of the ring, and he flies off camera, and we never saw him land. I hope he's alive.
The other person I didn't see land was Super Kalo doing a missile dropkick to the floor.
Actually, I did see that because I've seen him do that move before, and I always think, why would you do this?
Right.
Then I watched him do it here, and I thought, oh, that's why. Because he manages to touch the other guy with both feet, but then still landed on his feet on the floor. Anyway.
Yeah, but still.
I wouldn't do it.
I should hope not.
So, a bunch of stuff happened, and then Eddie laid Jericho out with the belt shot and hit a frog splash, and I wrote, this sucked and it was stupid.
Mm-hmm. Pointless.
In his only appearance on this show, the Giant half woke up from a long, long nap. He wished Arn a happy retirement, and I can only imagine he immediately went back to bed.
Well, I would imagine he's incarcerated, and they just woke him up and do this vignette.
He was sleepy. He was not doing whatever Scott Hall and Hogan were doing. Hogan and Bischoff came out for a promo.
All right. So if you watched this, I'm sure you all saw by the end the white, milky substance that was covering Hulk Hogan. Am I the only one?
Honestly,
I know I'm not the only one because I got texts and tweets about it.
Can't say I did.
I was asked if Hulk Hogan was lactating.
I gotta go back and watch this now.
Which is possible.
Right this second. I gotta check this.
Now, I believe that I can say with fair amount of certainty that Hulk Hogan was not lactating. Because knowing what to look for, I was fixated on his nipples from the moment he came through the curtain.
Get that drop.
Now, there were two milky white substances we got to talk about here.
Sure.
One of them was leaking out of both of his armpits. I presume that was deodorant.
Antiperspirant.
Antiperspirant. Sure. Okay. Now, there was a milky-ish substance dripping down below his pecs.
Okay.
But upon close inspection,
okay.
And I cannot believe I did this, whatever it was began above his nipples. And so I think that Hogan had lathered himself in something.
Okay.
Coconut oil or whatever to glisten. And when he started doing his promo and he began to sweat, it began to leak down, and it did in fact look like Hulk Hogan was lactating. But I don't think he was. Are you watching it, Vinny?
Watching it now. The deodorant is clear. You can see that. Very obvious.
Maybe he took the deodorant and went under his pecs with it.
I hadn't thought of that.
Can never be too fresh.
I still got that watching. So he came out. Yeah, I think it's all just deodorant. I think it's deodorant, and as you notice, above his nipples. But as he's he's Hogan. He's constantly waving his arms around.
Yes.
So
well, if you go back earlier, it starts on his chest.
Yeah.
And then the second, anyway, he's just a very hot, sweaty man.
Yeah, who OD'd on the right guard.
Again, get that drop.
Let's see. So they made a valid point when they said Hulk Hogan has defended his championship more often than Sting has wrestled matches this year. God damn it, they're right.
It was funny because Bischoff starts and he goes, Hulk Hogan has defended the world title this year more than, and I'm like, this will be good. What bullshit's he going to spout here? And then he goes, Sting has had matches. And I was like, shit.
Son of a bitch.
He is right. This fucker doesn't deserve a title shot.
No. So they ask, who is Sting beaten? Hogan buries his wrinkly trench coat, his wrinkly, white old body that he had quit taking to the gym. He demands Sting come face him right now. I'll even put the title on the line. The crowd's chanting for Sting. They're encouraging this. Instead, we get J.J. Dillon. J.J. says he's there to get an answer from Hogan. Will you take a match with Sting? And Hogan says, here's my answer. And he punches J.J. and starts dropping legs on him. They attacked him with spray paint. The fans demanded Sting, and that was it.
You know what's funny is this is so ridiculous. Like, yeah. Hogan is attacking J.J. Dillon. Like, there should be serious repercussions.
Absolutely.
It's just a stupid storyline. But the fans are going nuts. That's how much they want to see this match. They don't even care if it makes sense or not.
There's more. On a show that should have ended an hour ago. Randy Savage and Scott Hall versus DDP and Lex Luger. Lex and Paige, not only did they come out separately, they couldn't even stand in the same corner. So Paige starts. He goes the first minute or so, They go to break, and they come back. He's getting beat up, and the announcers let us know the NWO has made several tags. Lex has not tagged in even once. As noted, this show had already been gone way too long, and this beating went on forever. Finally, there's a hot tag, but the ref's back was turned. No one cares. Lex just runs wild anyway. He's hitting 87 atomic drops in a row on Scott Hall. I don't know if they just thought it was funny or if somebody was at a position where they're trying to set up. Poor Paige, for what they're trying to set up, has to pretend to be hurt for all 87 of these atomic drops. And finally, Lex goes to hit the bionic elbow of death, but Hall ducks and Lex wipes out Paige. And Lex puts Savage in the rack with his back to the ring. Hall covers Paige, and the ref counts 3. And here, you mentioned Tony Schiavone losing his patience with all this bullshit. And he was also one of those guys not happy about the Horseman parody segment. Letting you know, if you know Arn Anderson, you know how infuriating this is. And here, when we all saw Lex get a tag, but the ref didn't see it, but he let it go, but then Paige was the one who got pinned. Clearly the illegal man was pinned in the referee's eyes. Lex had no idea what was going on. Tony had no idea what was going on, but was sick of this whole shit. And that was that. I wrote a shitty finish to a shitty show. This went forever and was no fun.
Okay, so maybe I'm totally confused. Paige was the legal man, and he tagged Luger, but the ref didn't see it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So Paige was the legal man to the referee. That's why the finish was so great. The referee's telling Luger to get out of the ring because he didn't see the tag, and Luger's ignoring him.
Right.
And Luger runs wild. Then he accidentally hits his partner, so Paige is down. So Luger goes for the rack. Luger is not the legal man, and the other guy covers Paige, and the ref counts because Paige is legal. It made perfect sense.
So if he didn't see the tag, and if Lex wasn't legal, why did he let him run wild in the ring for 3 minutes?
Well, he was trying to get him out. He's
Why
yelling
wasn't he?
at
He was
him.
standing in the back of the corner doing nothing.
Well, there were 4 guys in the ring and their bodies everywhere. But I know that's the finish because Tony is frustrated and he screams, "Nick, don't call it down the middle!" Because the desperation of the announcers as this company is falling apart, they're desperate for anything. So much so that they want the referee to cheat and not see what really happened or see what didn't happen or whatever. Anyway, the real Tony Schiavone thing at the end of the show was they're going off the air. And Tony Schiavone says, "Next week, are we going to be WCW Nitro or NWO Nitro?" And there's a pause, and nobody answers his question. And Tony, with total exasperation, which I believe may have been legit exasperation, just screams, "Will someone answer my question?" And the show goes off the air. I died. Tony is done.
He's at it.
He's totally done. And it's all downhill from here. It was all downhill from Road Wild, in my opinion. That's the show, everybody.
That's it.
I liked it. Thought it was great.
No, you're wrong.
Yeah, we reviewed it, and going back over, I won't say it was all bad. There was a lot of good stuff, but there was more bad stuff.
Hey, I just got to say that in the main event, I totally zoned out because I expected a run-in. And not only did I get a run-in, but I got a finish that added to the heat of Luger and DDP, who will be fighting at Fall Brawl, Craig.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure of anything with WCW.
I see.
But I think. All right, everybody, we're going to wrap it up. We'll be back on Thursday with the Cruiserweight Classic, as well as NXT.
Those will be good shows.
And I believe that Lucha Underground is starting in a couple of weeks already.
Really?
Yeah. Because there's a doubling up of the Cruiserweight Classic and Lucha Underground for, I think, a week or two. But anyway, that'll be the plan for then. We got a lot of stuff coming up, so check it out. We'll talk to you again after a while.
Good night.
Bye.